So as a supporter of the Cheshire Wildlife Trust, you're likely to be out and about in the countryside. And who better to know what stands out as being a bit unusual than yourselves? If you're used to being out and about, used to spending your time with wildlife and so on and so forth, if you're finding a vehicle like this that might be parked up in a bit of a secluded spot, a vehicle which you haven't seen very often, or there's something more suspicious about it because it contains something or the number plate's not right, you're probably right about it, in fairness. So what do we need to report to the police to basically tell us what your concerns are and make sure that we're doing something about it? So we're going to have a look at the vehicle, we're going to talk through some of the ideas, and we talk about what you need to then report to the police and what you should expect in return as well, or at least the minimum in return from the police to know that your call's been taken seriously. Okay, so you find yourself in this location, you come here all the time because you're either involved in wildlife projects around here or it's near where you live. And this vehicle just does not seem right. Seems out of place, you've never seen it before, you know all your neighbours, so you know what vehicles they drive. And this has been parked up in a secluded like quarry car park like this, and you think to yourself, right, something's not right. So it's up to you in terms of whether you approach that vehicle to have a more in-depth look. What I'd suggest is if there's anyone around it and that, we wouldn't want you to put yourself at risk. So please don't go and approach people if you think there's any kind of real sort of safety concerns. By all means, you can ask any member of the public if they're all right or if they're lost or anything like that, and their answers might give you a bit of an idea. So we're looking, you can see my reflection in the window there, but we're looking inside this vehicle now, and there's a chainsaw on it. So if the scenario was that this vehicle has been out overnight, or you've seen it around a few times and they're leaving tools like this, then obviously that would make us start to think a little bit suspicious, wouldn't it? Because those that look after their tools wouldn't be leaving them around and about for anyone to possibly steal. So you can see the vehicle here. So what kind of details would you want to be reporting to the police? So we've decided we're not happy with this vehicle for a number of reasons, maybe where exactly it's parked or how it's parked, the tools that are in the back of it, or maybe it's just because of the time of day, time of night, or the people you've seen coming and going to and from it as well. So what do we need to actually report to the police to be able to make sure that we can find this vehicle easily and we can get it stopped and check that all is in order? So an obvious one will be the number plate. However, the number plate may change, so it's not uncommon for people involved in criminal behaviours, as it were, to change number plates. So let's think about some of the other details we could pass on to the police to make sure that if they're driving to this location and the car's already set off and they pass it on that country lane, they can identify it quickly and easily, get it stopped. So here we go then. So we talk about like near side, off side. Well, let's just simplify it and call it driver's side and passenger side. So on the driver's side of this vehicle, we've got this lovely dent on the rear quarter here. It's quite clearly obviously a silver 4x4, even if you only get that and don't be able to say that it's a Toyota Hilux. That's brilliant, it's still good detail. You've got the cabman on the back, the truckman cab on the back there, which is a really important detail, the fact that it's colour coded. And again, we've got the wires that are hanging down from the back as well there, so if I'm coming up behind it in a patrol car, I can quickly say, all right, yep, that's the vehicle involved. They may well have changed the number plate, but these kind of details are very difficult for them to change. And we come round here to the passenger side, and I'll roll the camera down slightly in a second, and you can see this massive dent that's in the rear quarter there as well. And we're not saying get every single detail, such as like the laminate or whatever coming off the wheels and they're no longer silver and so on and so forth, but get some of the really key ones. So like the number plate that we talked about, maybe the electrical wires that are hanging down. And then if you look at the top of this cab that's on the back of this 4x4, you've also got one of the air vents as well. And that'd be spinning if it's driving along. But if I'm pulling into this car park, I'm pretty convinced that as soon as I'm driving in, I can identify the vehicle you've been talking about and go straight up and have a look. So those kind of details, just make sure you're passing them, but don't worry too much. If it's not safe to get those details, just pass the bits you've got. So the next really important step is actually being able to identify exactly where you are in the countryside, because not everyone is an expert map reader. And for instance, if we've got our control room staff taking the calls, there's a good chance they may never have been to the area you're talking about. So it's really important that we're able to locate exactly where the suspicious vehicle is, or it might be evidence in a crime, or it may well be, unfortunately, a dead bird of prey, for instance, and we want to be able to locate it exactly where it is so we can find it, we can investigate the crime, and we can deal with it. So there are apps out there. Bear in mind, however, if you've lived on the land for ages, you may well know that land by a different name to what people know it now. So you might have Plungebrook this, Dragon's Back that. Local names for things Great for the local community, but not so good when we're trying to report it for emergency services. So let's keep it straightforward. There is an app, and it's called What 3 Words. Every emergency service is using that now, and our control room operators over at Winsford, they're aware of that app as well, and it's designed our system so we can actually take the What 3 Words from you and add it into our system, and it will pinpoint exactly where you are. The app itself has been around for a little while now, and for instance, if you call in and you were to say, and I'm going to look down on my hands and cheek for a second, here, assemble, saddens and liquids, and if I was to type that into my app of What 3 Words that I've got on my phone, or you type it into yours now, you'll see the exact spot where we filmed this video, for instance. Bear in mind though, it is technology, so if you're out in the countryside you may not always have signal, but it is a really good tool to have. So that's how you can report it. You can report any crimes using those kind of locations, so whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be a rural wildlife crime, it could be a heritage crime, or it could be your traditional crimes that we all talk about if it's a burglary or something like that. If you need to get police or emergency services to, or a road traffic accident, use the What 3 Words, and be prepared, however, to use other description locations as well. Certainly don't use it's past the field with the cows in, as we've had in the past, because that can't be helpful if it happens that herd's moved on. Okay, thanks very much everyone, thanks for joining us, bye bye.